We're in Portugal, and one of the best things about Portugal is that it has massive hills. Hills big enough that they can absolutely terrify you with how steep they are and how big they are. You found that out already, haven't you?
I agree.
You okay? So, we're gonna do a mini tip Monday on how to do uphills. If you're new here, welcome to Break Magazine. My name's Lel and I'm a journalist, off-road instructor and filmmaker. I do tutorials, bike reviews and travel videos. If you enjoy this video, liking and subscribing is massive for the YouTube algorithm, or taking a trip to my Patreon would be amazing. Now let's get back to those hill climbs. How to do uphills is a really big concept. There are a lot of different smaller lessons that you can add in to build up to improve your uphill technique. The other good way to learn to do uphills is to ride them and then get those small bits corrected. So that's what we're gonna do today. We've got a really big variety of steepness and technicality of uphills in this little location that we're in here. So we can go and ride a few and correct some mistakes and add in some small mini lessons. And hopefully you can learn something and Luce can learn something. Sound good?
Yeah.
Fantastic. We started off by getting Luce to do the hill a few times to see how she dealt with it. This is a relatively straightforward hill, but it is long and steep enough that you have to be balanced on the bike. You really want a hill that's tricky, but it leaves you with enough room to think about your riding.
Yeah, I feel like I can get away with not being that precise with my wheels up this hill because there's no sort of, other than like the loose bit in the middle, there's no like obvious obstacles that I have to avoid, like rocky like steps or anything. So I feel like I'm hashing it, but I'm doing it.
So I think the next step for you on this hill is to get more comfortable being much more forthright with your acceleration lower in the hill. Because this hill is quite big and quite steep, if there was something up there a little bit higher up that was an obstacle and you're in the position where you're just going with a nice constant speed the whole way up, it doesn't give you any latitude to deal with that problem. So if you need to slow down, you have to slow down so much that it's then hard to go again.
Okay.
And learning to be aggressive with your acceleration and doing that well, either stood up or sat down on a dirt bike, I think makes a big difference to how difficult the hills are you can get up. This time, once you come around the bottom down there, there's like a little right-left.
Yep.
Basically, once I go round the right, I will constantly accelerate to speed so that when I'm here, all I'm maintaining around the corner is the speed I've got. I think you can get more speed in the bottom so that up the hill where it's steeper, if it's slippery or whatever, you've just got that room to deal with it. Does that make sense?
How do you know when to stop accelerating? Like at what point?
I think there's two things to think about there. The first one is I kind of believe that there's a bit you have to work within the speed at which your brain can process information. My brain is quite slow today. But that comfort zone area where you can just process things quick enough that you don't make a hash of it and you don't create that situation where you're going so fast you get scared and you shut the throttle. You need to work within that kind of zone, but at the top edge of it. On a hill like this, I would try to expand my comfort zone to be able to continuously accelerate towards the top. We have a nice clean line here, and even up here around the corner, the camber of the dirt is such that you're gonna have good grip all the way, and when you've got good grip and good dirt, keep accelerating and keep figuring out where the upper limit of what your brain can deal with is. So that's, I think, is one of those things to have 3 or 4 goes at and start accelerating more. We also discussed sitting down for the acceleration phase to help accelerate harder and give you more control. I demoed both faster and slower speeds a few more times and then left Luce to practice those 2 changes and get her reactions to how it all feels.
I I always find that watching someone who knows what they're doing do it helps significantly. It's only like this trip that I'm starting to understand about how if you've got room to accelerate, then do it, because it's going to help you further up the trail. So yeah, I'm still not, even though we did a MiniTip Monday on accelerating, I'm still not like that comfortable with it, but I think that was a mild improvement.
Here we have the lesser spotted Simon Pavey.
Alien to me, so it still feels a little bit unnatural.
What, to sit down to accelerate into the hill?
Yeah. Because like, I don't know, like speed isn't something where I'm like, oh, I have to go really fast all the time. It's not really my like, I don't know, my thing. And so yeah, it feels a bit like terrifying, as does everything that I do on a motorbike.
Fair enough. I was about to tell you to try and go a little bit quicker, but stick
That's
with
all
what
right,
you got.
I'll try it.
Yeah, try and go a little bit more each time.
Okay.
After a handful more trips up and down the hill, it started to come together really well. Lucy's positive acceleration was getting better, and she has great sitting to standing transition. Being able to move from sitting to standing without pulling on the handlebars, changing the balance, or shutting the throttle is a huge step. The more comfortable she got, the better her riding position got too. Her elbows are wider, and that helped her grip stay loose. You can really see the progression in the next couple of GoPro clips.
Does it feel good?
Yeah, it feels like, I think as I've been riding hills in the past, because I haven't been carrying that much speed, as soon as I like panic and grab the clutch, my speed almost becomes nil. And then quite often I stall it, and then I drop it, and then I have to pick it up on the hill. So yeah, actually having a bit more speed is helpful.
Awesome. So we're going to do a little bit more of a technical one that kind of replicates the bit that you've struggled with before, where you just said, where there's an obstacle in the hill that you can't just plough through.
Yeah.
Because if you just plough through it, it all goes Pete-tong. And this hill is a really good example. This is adjacent to the hill we've just done, but you have to come off the main lines up. It's a little bit messy down there, so you can't just plough through that and hope that it's going to be okay. You have to be neat and tidy through it. But then you have a really good run all the way up to this last bit, where again, it's a bit rocky and messy. So then we need a little bit to come off the throttle, to take a little bit of control back, rather than just blind acceleration.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're turning on to the main hill again, which is effectively an off camber. So you need to be gentle with the throttle and start accelerating again. And that's the same as when you have a rock step in the hill or some other obstacle, where you can accelerate on the good bit, then sometimes you have to take a bit away, deal with an obstacle, and then slowly go again. And if you're good at the accelerating part, that's possible. Make sense?
I feel like this is a test.
No, not a test.
A bit more tricky than the main hill. Yeah, there's obviously less room for manoeuvre, like you've got that one track that you have to follow, and then obviously on this bit here, you've got to place your wheels quite like precisely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm getting there with some repetition.
Cool. So I think the next step, if you can, is when you come into the single track bit and you've got like that relatively good rut sort of thing, is to now go a little bit quicker each time, a little bit quicker, a little bit more aggressive, because especially where you've got good ground and like a defined line, it gives you quite good traction. As long as you're in the line, you can put like the power down quite effectively. It doesn't have to be mad aggressive with wheel spin, the same as you were on this hill really.
Yeah.
But the same kind of idea is get on with it while the grip's good, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah?
As the concept of changing and choosing her speed on the hill started to sink in, we then added in making the transition back to the trail neater and more precise, instead of charging through it like this, to work on that finer clutch and throttle control when in a tricky position.
That was a bit more out of control. I think I accelerated before I was ready, physically and emotionally.
Okay, well, that was very self-observant. Yeah, that's all. A little bit like
Yeah.
enthusiastic. It's got a lot of power.
It's got a lot more than my 250.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah, very good. What have you noticed as like developed since we started doing this kind of hill lesson?
I think the main thing is knowing that accelerating faster will actually help you in the long run. Like it's not something to be fearful of. It's actually going to help with obstacles, which is like something I've not like learnt until now.
Yeah, and if we go back to that MiniTip Monday we did in the last season of MiniTip Monday, where we did that lesson on acceleration.
Yeah.
The reason we did that is for this stuff, because if you don't have the concept of building speed really quickly and being comfortable with what that feels like, you can't grow at this stuff, because you can't learn to do that here. You need to know already how to accelerate before you apply quite a steep hill with precise wheel placement to the package, really. But I think you've got that really well.
Thanks.
I'm quite impressed with how you've picked up changing those elements quickly and being able to transition well from sitting to standing without holding on loads or sitting in a bad position.
I think that sort of that lesson in acceleration and leaning forward puts you in a good position, maybe to be able to like transition between sitting down and standing up.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to practicing my newfound skills.
Yeah, we'll go and do a few hills with bits in them now. That's probably about all for this lesson. Patreon, thank you very much for your constant support. It makes a massive difference. We really enjoy making these videos. Your response and your questions and your support from the last ones we did of these kind of me and Lucy together lessons was fantastic. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we've got a few more of your requested mini tips coming up that we're going to film in the next few days as well. So see you next.